Now, I've been on this for the last 4 years. And I've almost started an organization to amplify the stories of the Jews in the Middle East and Arab countries and Iran.
You started an organization?
Yeah.
What was it called?
Uprooted.
Uprooted. Okay.
And we really didn't go places. People are like, what are you doing? We're not victims. Why do we need to tell our story? Oh, there's a million organizations fighting anti-Semitism. Yeah. And I was blowing the whistle on anti-Semitism coming from the left and DEI groups over and over again and saying, listen, if you guys want to really fight this anti-Zionist anti-Semitism, you need to amplify voices of Jews from Arab countries.
Right.
Because their existence completely tears a hole in the entire fabric of bullshit that the Palestinian side is proposing, right? Their entire premise is that you believe that the Jew is a white supremacist. That is why at every protest, at the Palestinian protest, when there's a counter-Jewish protester, what do they say? Go to Poland. Go to Germany. It is so entrenched and ingrained in that narrative that our existence, and something I've been planning to do for a long time, was do an all-Arabic pro-Israel rally and to counter them. Our existence completely starts tearing holes in that story.
Right.
And so now we're trying to jump over them in the DEI caliber. You know, we were not only oppressed, but we were oppressed by you. The people are saying that you're oppressed, and we're not white. We're brown, just like you.
Do you see any danger in playing that game? Because I've said before that it's not that we're denying Jews. Some Jews are, quote, white. Like, I'm not trying to score points with DEI to say, no, look, we're brown. We're also all these other colors that are acceptable. Like, so to me, to play that game is kind of like yucky. I'm trying to like.
I'm with you, but I don't think it matters.
Yeah. I know what you're doing. Yours is like a strategic position to basically undermine the DEI claim, but I don't want to give credence and credibility to the idea that being browner makes you necessarily better or more virtuous.
No, not at all. But that's only one of the points, right? The first point is you're underdoing the DEI claim, but the second point is more relevant, right? And that is, look, when white supremacy was really the biggest threat, right? These neo-Nazis were really the biggest threat against Jews in America. Who were the ones that stood up and spoke out? And honestly, thank God for them, with the Ashkenaz and the Ashkenazi community, who's done so much building organizations to fight anti-Semitism.
Sure.
They really did.
Yeah.
And they were able to really effectively fight back against neo-Nazi and white supremacist anti-Semitism.
That's true, yeah.
Even till this day, if you see neo-Nazi
marches,
the biggest anti-Semite will call them out and say, oh, this is completely not acceptable.
So they were successful in correctly portraying the evil of anti-Semitism in the form of white supremacy.
Right. Why? Because they experienced it firsthand.
Yeah.
They experienced Hitler firsthand.
Right, and we said, now we're going to make a concerted effort in the culture.
Now you have to ask, right? It's not, okay, they did it great. How and why were they so effective? They were so effective because
Spielberg,
they firsthand,
man. He's a good director. Yeah.
They firsthand experienced the Holocaust. It was their story that they were speaking about from the pits of their stomach, from their heart, the story of their mother, the story of their grandfather, their cousin. It was relatable to the American people. Some Joe Schmo in the Midwest would hear this man and go, his mother went through this. This is a real danger. This is a real threat. If those same voices are now fighting a type of anti-Semitism that, you know, they haven't had real firsthand experience with, it doesn't come off authentic.
Right.
And they playing right into the hand of the pro-Palestinian side, where they're saying, you know, think about it. Everybody like, well, we need a safe place. We need a safe haven. After the Holocaust, we needed somewhere. It was Israel.
And you don't like that argument. Or you find it to be
disingenuous because that's not why we have Israel. I mean, sure, we need a safe place, but that's not why we have our Holy Land. That's not why it's important to us, let me say. That's what I meant to say. That's not why it is the most important, and that is not why it's an ancestral
And that's not why
homeland.
Israel's owed to us.
No.
It's because it's ours.
And
then we're indigenous, is what you mean.
So if now
Sorry,
you
Michael.
bring out Jewish voices of Arab countries to speak out, they can have the same argument that the Ashkenazi community had in the earlier 60s and 70s, right? And they can say, or whatever, they can say, look, this type of anti-Zionist anti-Semitism was the main contributing factor to our displacement from Arab countries in Iran. This caused the ethnic cleansing of 850,000 to 1 million Jewish refugees. If this continues in this country, you are threatening us with the same thing that displaced us. And that is a firsthand powerful message that goes over the DEI, goes over any of the other bullshit they're trying to throw at us. And I think it would actually be recepted very well with others.
Received. Yeah,
Received.
Well, to your point, I think a manifestation of how much the Ashkenazi argument in this case has failed is they've twisted it around on us.
Yeah.
They've said, no, you're the ones doing a Holocaust now. You're the ones doing a genocide.
they stole
That's
the tragedy.
how big of a failure it's been.
Yeah.
Not only that, they used it. They said, look, you're admitting you're from Germany and Poland. So what? You went through a horrible Holocaust. So what gives you the right to come into my land, you Europeanist, or whatever they want to get, European colonizer, and come and take my land? Just because you suffered, why do I have to suffer?
I hear that point, and I just think the counter to that, first of all, is that Jews are not, if you want to go indigenous, like Israel's Jewish roots are evident in the ground.
Yeah, of course.
And so you can obviously make the case that Jews need a safe haven, and this idea that it was just some great displacement and there wasn't a massive war that was declared on the Jewish state. This idea that white settler colonialist European Jews came and just completely displaced everybody and that was it, and as opposed to the fact that there were two peoples there and there was land purchasing and all this kind of other stuff which we can get into. But I hear you that if anything, what the Jewish Arab community, the Jews from the Arab countries are saying is that the narrative of displacement, of ethnic cleansing, that applies to us. We are the oppressed ones directly from this part of the world.
Yes.
As opposed to the victorious Jews that have now come in won 48 and came in and built up Israel from Europe. There's also a whole other side to the story that dispels the DI narrative as exclusively applied to Palestinians.
100%. And I mean, I'll give you two narratives, and you tell me which one sounds more appealing to you. You ready? The first narrative is we had the Holocaust, we left, we need a safe haven, we came.
And that's Rashida Tlaib saying, it's just
we
that,
accepted them.
It's just that we did accept them. We took them in, and it pains me that Jewish pain and suffering had to come at the pain and suffering of my people.
The second more important, more powerful narrative, in my opinion, with this type of anti-Zionism, not that both narratives aren't true and everything, but is this: the majority of Jews that live in Israel today, reside in Israel today, are themselves or are descendants of Jewish refugees of Arab countries in Iran. So that is a majority population. So a more powerful narrative is this: the Grand Mufti of Palestine came and made the Holocaust happen. It collaborated with Nazis and made the Farhud. Those Iraqis fled to Israel. At that time, it was a British mandated Palestine. In Syria, 30,000 Jews. These million Jews that were displaced by Arab violence went back to their original homeland that no longer was controlled by the Ottoman Empire and that was being established as a land for them. And why shouldn't they deserve the land? If you argue that Palestinians should own a land when there was never a country of Palestine because they lived there, then my argument goes to why aren't Jews getting land in Iraq and Syria and Lebanon and in Egypt? In Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Saudi Arabia when they were established by the
pyramids. We probably
French.
should get some of that.
And so that narrative then goes, so what you're telling me is I was displaced by these people and now they're telling me I'm oppressing them and they want to displace me again from the river to the sea. Where do they want me to be?
Right. I mean, it's so funny because you have to just untangle so much, because now the narrative is the Jews went through the false narrative. Right. Jews went through the Holocaust and now they've become the Nazis. They're using that whole tactic. Look at what they're doing. How could they having gone through them, projecting their own trauma and doing this? But now if you really untangle that, it's Jews were ethnically cleansed from Arab countries. In fact, not falsely, actually expelled. And if you want to make any claim to land in the Middle East, it's Jews are owed property back all over the Middle East, not only just Israel, but in Baghdad, in Syria, all over these places. And I guess you could say Jews are also owed property and assets in Poland and Germany and reparations. All of these types of things. They're the ones that are culpable, that have been responsible for Jewish suffering and Jewish tragedy. Okay. And yet Jews and Israel are the ones exclusively called the oppressor of this part of the world. It's pretty amazing that narrative is the one that wins out.
It's offensive. It's like
Michael,
it's
you're
like
thinking.
Looking and
I'm thinking then. Okay, if you follow that though, then the Palestinians who were displaced, if the Jews need a safe haven to go to.
Careful.
No. I'm wondering if you follow that all the way through, then shouldn't the Palestinians who were displaced be taken care of in some capacity also?
Yeah, they should.
I'm asking. I'm not.
100%.
Yeah.
100% Palestinians deserve self-determination in Jordan. That was what was split up to them in the Balfour Declaration. Now, I'm not saying that we wouldn't give up land, or maybe we give up land, or maybe we do a two-state solution. I don't care. It's not relevant. It is a fake argument that's not solving the conflict, and because the conflict is not about land.
Yeah.
We all consistently say this conflict is not about land.
What's that phrase you
and
said
then
at
we
the
jump to, well, we agree with a two-state solution. Well, you just said it's not about land. So what do you mean you agree to a two-state solution? You're not being real. You're not being genuine.
What's the phrase you said? Kepa, the Jews in the first.
Khaybar ya Yahud.
Khaybar Yar Yahud. This is just like, it's not about land.
It's not.
And if it is, it's about Jordan,
ideology.
because the original partition was Transjordan and Israel,
Yeah.
right? But what's his name said? Yusuf, son of Hamas. What's his name?
Musab. Yeah.
Musab. What's his name?
Musab.
Musab Yusuf.
No,
Musab.
Hussein. I believe it's Hussein Musab, but I'm not on.
I think it's Musab,
The
whatever. Son
Green
of
Prince?
Hamas.
The Green Prince.
He's like, when we were born, we carried the Jordanian passport. That is what we had. There is no such thing as Palestine. You do not even know what Palestine is. I love him. So aggressive. You know what he reminds me of? You know Dexter, the show Dexter? That show where like the guy was born with a brain like